Our little red phone, yes, I just thought I'd say that. Only Anita Dunn has the phone number to that. Anita Dunn is the one at the White House. Still hasn't rung, not once. I mean, I thought Anita would call after the clip we played on Thursday, but apparently I misunderstood. This clip is from a high school graduation back in June of this year. And here's what White House Communications Director had to say to the teenagers there.
Two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa, not often coupled with each other, but the two people that I turn to most.
Okay, not often coupled with one another. Laughter. But the two people I turn to most. You know, I don't think Mao should be anybody's favorite anything, especially not your favorite political philosopher or one that you turn to most, given that his political philosophies included shooting political opponents in the head. Let me show you another clip of her. Now, this is not anything about Mao. Well, no, Mao did like to control the media. Here's what she said on January 12th. Here it is.
A huge part of our press strategy was focused on making the media cover what Obama was actually saying, as opposed to, you know, why the campaign was saying it, what the tactic was. That we had a huge premium both on message discipline, on people in the campaign not leaking to reporters, on people in the campaign not discussing our strategy, and also on making the press cover what we were saying. So it was very much we controlled it as opposed to the press controlled it. And it did not always make us popular with the press. But we increasingly, by the general election, very rarely did we communicate through the press anything that we didn't absolutely control.
Hey, we control you. Doesn't that kind of hack? Is there a journalist within the sound of my voice that kind of resents being controlled by the White House? But let me ask you this. Once you become the president of the United States and not just a pesky candidate, doesn't it get a little spooky when you get borderline propaganda, if not full-fledged propaganda? I mean, sure, there's some thrill-up-the-leg networks that don't seem to have a problem with out-and-out propaganda, but one network does, and we're not afraid to say so. That network is Fox. Not because we don't agree with the White House. There are plenty of people here that agree with the White House. I don't, but I'm not a journalist. See, the job of journalists is not to do anything but report the news. See, that's not my job. I try to explain the news and ask questions like, why is this happening? If you're just not reporting the news, you're just reporting what they want you to, you're being spun and controlled. Do any journalists in America have a problem with that? It's my job to give you perspective, and I'm going to give you some tonight. I'm sure you don't care about the ratings on Fox News. I mean, why would you? But let me just use this as an example. All of the other networks need to combine all of their prime time shows to equal just one of ours on most nights. One network is winning in the ratings, not because we're so special or oh dig us, but because we're asking the questions you would be asking if you were sitting here. So when somebody, you know, succeeds and is outperforming everybody else, what do progressives usually do? They level the playing field. It's like the media now is playing kickball, and we're the ones that are good at it. So what does the teacher do? Oh, that progressive teacher, first of all, I wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't say that we need to stop keeping score. I mean, why keep track of ratings? It's so hurtful. Well, they could tear a page from Saul Alinsky, isolate the good performer, ridicule them, and then just take the ball away and not let us play anymore. Well, isn't that what Rahm Emanuel did this weekend?
I suppose the way to look at it and the way the president looks at it and we look at it is it's not a news organization so much as it has a perspective. And that's a different take. And more importantly is not have the CNNs and the others in the world basically be led in following Fox as if that what they're trying to do is a legitimate news organization in a sense of both sides and in a sense of a value opinion.
Wow, okay, so I just want to make sure I understand this. The others don't have a perspective. MSNBC, they don't have a perspective on things. That is weird, isn't it? And there's a difference between journalists and what I do. But some organizations, I guess, don't cut those and separate them apart from each other. And then the other was, what did he say? The important thing is that the others don't follow the example of Fox. Ooh, naughty boy. I see what you're doing here, Rahm. You're the architect behind this. Oh, we know. That's okay. Let's just be frank about it, shall we? You see, if you just ask, why are we pushing cap and trade? That's not a good idea. They don't want those questions. But isn't why the most important question? Why would you do that? Why would you try to pass cap and trade and jack up the cost of fuel in this economy? Ooh, that's a trouble question. Why is there another radical in the White House? Speaking of radicals, why was Van Jones hired in the first place? Oh, and by the way, if your story is true and the White House knew that Van Jones was a communist radical, which Valerie Jarrett has said, why was he allowed to be hired in the first place? Why is the NEA given money for propaganda purposes to push the president, I'm quoting, and his policies, I'm still quoting, and this administration, end quote? Why doesn't anyone in the White House admire, I don't know, a founding father from time to time and not Mao? Remember the words of progressive Bill Maher.
They're talking about 60 votes. They need forget this stuff. 60. You can't get Americans to agree on anything. 60%. 60% of people don't believe in evolution in this country. He just needs to drag them to it. Like I just said, they're stupid.
We are, though, aren't we? The whole point of progressives, and do your homework on them if you haven't already, is that they think the public at large is incapable of making decisions that will benefit the blessed collective. Therefore, they have to drag you to it. Or, what's the new word? Oh, I know. Nudge you. Cass Sunstein, that's his words. They don't want you asking why on things. You're just a pesky little idiot that won't understand. And you're just going to get in the way of reform. And if there's one thing that makes this president upset, if there's something that he rejects, well, as he pointed out after this broadcast on Thursday night, it's someone getting in the way of reform.
I'm busy, and Nancy's busy with our mop cleaning up somebody else's mess. We don't want somebody sitting back saying, you're not holding the mop the right way. Why don't you grab a mop? Why don't you help clean up?
No, thank you.
You're not mopping fast enough. That's a socialist mop.
Yeah, I'm going to leave the socialist mopping to you. He's all about an open debate, unless, of course, you're against any of his plans, and you start asking questions like Fox News does proudly every single day and continues to do. Then, neither he nor any of his administration members will talk to you, because remember, they're controlling the message, and Fox just isn't playing nice. So they'll just take their ball and go home. I think that's what Rahm Emanuel was doing today. He basically told us, oh, we don't want any of the other kids behaving like that, so we're going to have to spank. A spanking is coming in hopes that you and those who are supposed to be our watchdogs, the press, learn from the Fox coming punishment. Sunday, George Stephanopoulos asked senior White House advisor David Axelrod if their strategy, led by communications director, I can't say that, it's actually led by Rahm Emanuel, oops, led by communications director Anita Dunn, was, quote, fortifying the enemy.
The only argument Anita was making is that they're not really a news station. If you watch even, it's not just their commentators, but a lot of their news programming. It's really not news. It's pushing a point of view. And the bigger thing is that other news organizations like yours ought not to treat them that way, and we're not going to treat them that way.
Warning, they're not news. Don't treat them like that, and don't follow down their path. Oh boy, journalists, don't you see what's happening?